In this video, I want to create a model, the data that will be stored in a database. And to deal with databases, I want to use SQLAlchemy ORM system. Let's install Flask SQL Alchemy extension. Now I am opening the config.py file. And in the config class, I am creating a new class property, SQL Alchemy Database URI. It should be in uppercase. I used my shortcut to make it uppercased. And the value of this property will be the following. First of all, I have to specify the database I will use. I want to use the SQLite database, so it should be SQLite, colon, and 3 slashes. And then the name and location of the database I want to use. The SQLite database is just a file. That's why I have to specify the absolute path to the database file. And we can use here the same idea like in Jinja. And first of all, I have to import OS module, and I create base dir variable that will get the following value. OS path. I need to get the absolute path of the config.py file, this one, with the function appsPath, and the name variable as an argument. The appsPath function will return the absolute path to the config.py file, like this. And I need to get an absolute path to the directory which contains my config.py file, my project. I can do it with the osPath dir name function that will return this string. And here I'll just call the join method and pass into it base dir variable and the name of my database. Let's say that'll be database db file. Then in the app.py file, I'm importing the SQLAlchemy class. Flask underscore SQLAlchemy import SQLAlchemy. SQLAlchemy is an ORM system that stands for Object Relational Mapping. The main idea of the Object Relational Mapping is that we can use Python objects classes to describe schema of a relational database. ORM is a additional layer of more abstract logic over a certain SQL language, and ORM helps us to describe data that we want to store in a database with Python classes, and these classes are called models. And now I want to create an instance of the SQLAlchemy class. I think that'll be the db variable, and I am passing into its constructor my Flask instance, the app variable. Server is started and we can see the deprecation warning. And to read off this warning, we have to explicitly set SQL track modifications in the config.py file. I have to set it explicitly to true or to false. I don't want to use track modifications, so I want to set it to false. I will start the server again. And there is no this warning anymore. Okay. Now I can import my db variable to the main py file. Then in the root directory of my project, I'm creating the models py file. Models. From app import db, I need the SQLAlchemy instance. And then I can create Python class that will store the data of my posts. It will be the post class, a subclass of the model class. All records in a database have a unique ID or primary key (PK). It's an automatically incremented number which we can use to identify a record in a database. So the first column of the post table will be the ID. It's an instance of the column class. The first argument is the data type. It will be the integer. I want to set the ID as the primary key. True. Then each post will have a title. The data type is a string. The max length will be 140 characters. Then the slug. The same way, but the slug will be unique. The slug field is a human readable URL, and URLs should be unique, otherwise we can get conflicts. Then a post will have a body. It's just a text and the date of its creation, of publication. I want to import from date time module. I need date time, and default value will be date time now function. I defined the class properties, and now I have to define the constructor of the post class. The init method that takes self and some positional and keyworded arguments. Then I want to call the constructor of the model class. The model class is the superclass of the post model. So I'm calling the super function. Then I call the init method, and I just pass into it positional and keyworded arguments of the post class that it will get. And also I have to generate the slug. So I'm calling the generate slug function. That will be the following. If self title self slug will be, and I'm calling slugify function that takes the title of the post as an argument. I want to use here the slugify function because I'll need the same behavior for the tag model a bit later. So it will be the separate function. Let's define it here. Slugify function takes some string as an argument, and it will pass for a while. Now I need regex validator. I like regex 101. So test string, Python test strings will be some titles. First post, second post, third post. And now I need to generate URLs from these titles. A URL shouldn't have spaces, punctuation marks, and special characters. and all of these characters should be replaced by underscore or dashes. I want to use a regular expression to find all undesirable characters and then to replace them. So my regular expression will be the following. I need a group of symbols, so I'm using square brackets, then \w. \w means letters, underscores and digits, and plus. Plus means infinite amount of characters. And we can see that this regular expression finds all I need to have in a URL. And to invert the search result, I have to use the caret character before my regular expression. And the caret means except. So I need all characters except this. So it's my regular expression. Let's import regular expression module, RE, and I need a pattern. It will be raw string, and this my regular expression. The slugify function will return the result of the substitution. RE module has a sub function. It's a substitution function, where the first argument is what to find. I need to find all characters that matches to my regular expression, to my pattern. The second argument is what I want to use for substitution. I think that I will use dash. And the third argument is where I want to find it. It will be as string. And that's all. Slugify function will return a slug that I want to use. Okay, and what should happen if not self-title, if there is no title? Self-slug will be equals to, and here I want to use epoch time, the time in seconds passed from the January the 1st of 1970. So I can get it with from time import time function. I'm calling the time function. Then I want to convert it to integers, and then I need to get the string. And that's all. Then I think I will need wrapper method. It's f-string notation. And before I create a post, I have to create the post table. I am opening again the Python shell. I want to use IPython, and here from app import db, and from models import all. And the SQLAlchemy has the create all method that I want to use, create all. And we can see database db file was created, and now I can create first post. Let's say it will be p post, title will be first post, body will be the same. Okay, PID none. This expression creates an instance of the post class, but the data of the p variable is not saved in the database yet. And to save it to a database, I have to add it to the session. The session is a special object that stores all information about our manipulations with the database that we want to commit. commit to database. So I need db session object, and sessions has add method, and I want to pass into it my p variable, db session commit. And now my p has an ID number 1. I forgot to close angle bracket here. Okay. Let's create another one. Second post body. Let's create a post with the punctuation marks in its title. That'll be p1 posts title and again and it works. We can see that all punctuation marks was replaced with dashes. And now let's get all posts from the database. How we can do it? I need the post class and its query object. And I'm calling the all method. And I've got a list with all posts. Let's get a post by its title. How we can do it? Post class query object, and I'm calling the filter method. Will be again post class. I need all posts that has title that contains, for example, the second word. And the filter method returns a base query object that behaves like a list. And we can iterate through it in a for loop. Or we can call the all method to get a list. I've got a list with one element. Or to get an element, this element, I can call the first method. And I've got the post number 2. There is another way to get an object. For example, p equals to post, again the query object, the filter method, and I need all posts with the titles that equals to cloud, for example word. And I'm calling the all method, and we can see an empty list because I have no post with the cloud word in the title. It's a basic examples, and Flask SQLAlchemy documentation has many more examples of it. Now I want to change a bit my posts list view function. I need my blueprint. Here I need my post. From models import post. And as I imported my post, I immediately got an exception. Cannot import name DB from partially initialized module app. Line 5 of models py file. The issue is the following. I import the post class from the models module, but to create a post class I need SQLAlchemy object, the DB variable that was imported from the app module. But SQLAlchemy object was created at the line 13 after the blueprint was imported and executed accordingly. That's why I've got an exception, circular imports. So I think that I move registration of my blueprints to the main py file somewhere here, and I have to import posts to main. Okay, let's run it again, and it's working. Okay, great. So in the blueprint py, in the post list function, I want to get all posts. Post class query object, and I need to call the all function. And then I have to pass into the template, into the posts HTML template, my posts. Posts equal to posts. Okay. Posts HTML. And to render all posts, I have to use a for loop. So for post in posts variable, and here I want to use bootstrap cards layout. So I need bootstrap, get bootstrap.com, and I need a card. I like this one. The card header, here I want to paste created. The created field is the datetime object, so I can use date function to get only date without time. Then in the card body, the title of the card will be the title of my post title. Post body. The button will be read more. So at each iteration of the for loop, the post variable gets an element of the post list one by one. And inside the for loop, I'm defining the layout for the post data. It's the bootstrap card. And now I want to have titles as links to its content. And to do it, first of all, I have to define a new view function. So I need the blueprint py file, posts, route, and the route will be the slug. Angle brackets means the name of the parameter that it will be the slug. Post detail function that takes slug as an argument. This slug. I want to use slug because it's unique and I can identify any post by its slug. And the same way I can use the ID of a post. So I have to get the post with his slug. Post will be post query object filter method, and I need all posts where the slug equals to slug. To this variable. The slug is unique, so I assume that it will be only one post. So I'm calling the first method. For example, I have a URL address, blog first post. This part is the slug that will be saved in the variable slug, and post detail will get this slug here, the first post. and then I will find all posts with this slug. It will be only one post, and I'll get it with the first function, first method. And the post detail function will return the result of render template function. The template will be post detail HTML, and the post equals to the post. And now I have to create the post detail HTML file. Post detail HTML. It will extend the base HTML. Okay, let's return to post HTML file. And here I have to define links to its post detail pages. So I want to use h5 header as a link. And the href attribute will be URL4 function that takes as an argument post blueprint, post detail function, and I have to pass the slug. The slug equals to post slug, this post variable here. And the same for the button. Let's test it. And I've got my cards and it's working. Info, CSS class btn info, and I want to have margin bottom 3 or 4 maybe. Okay, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.